All right, so TSI day one prep. So we're going to start off with a lot of just review of concepts from this school year that you should have just from the beginning to the end. A lot of the things also build on your Algebra 1 skills. So we're starting off with review of basic skills for algebra. Then tomorrow we'll be doing basic arithmetic with decimals and fractions. Why? Because are you allowed to use a calculator on TSI? No, you are not. It's based on your math skills. So therefore, we're going to practice some of those math skills. And I know it sounds like, Miss, you're going to teach us how to add. Yes, we're going to go over how to add. We are, because sometimes we just need that extra, okay? So was there enough papers or did I need to print papers? So problem number one, we're going to start off easy. We have here, it says, if 3t minus 7 equals 5t, then what is 6t, right? So first thing first is you have to find t. Does that make sense? Yes. So step one is to find t. So we have 3t minus 7 equals 5t. Just like anytime you're solving for a variable, what's the first thing you should do? Combine like terms. Is that what we said? Yeah, we said we should combine like terms. That's the first thing you should do. What are the two like terms that I have? I have 3t and 5t, right? So I'm going to move the 3t. It's positive, so I'm going to make it a negative. That's going to bring down my -7, bring down my equal sign, and I'm left with 2t. All right, t is not by itself yet, so what do I need to do to get t all alone? Divide, because this is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. What is -7 divided by 2? -3.5. If you have $7 and you split it between two people, each person gets $3.50. So step one is done. Step two is to solve the problem. So it said, what does 6t equal? Well, now we know that t is what? -3.5. Okay. Now, side note, just remember, if you forget the rules for multiplying and dividing, here's your tic-tac-toe. When you're multiplying and dividing with real numbers, your rules for this can help you remember. The goal in tic-tac-toe is to get 3 in a row, right? And everyone tries to get it on the diagonal. So you have plus, plus, plus. This tells us that a positive times a positive is a positive. Agree? Yes, same for division. Where everything else, that's your negative space. And this just now reinforces that a positive times a negative is going to produce a negative. A negative times a positive is going to produce a negative. A negative times a negative is going to produce a positive. So in this case, we have a positive and a negative. So what should our solution be? A negative. So that eliminates A for us because A is not a negative solution. Okay. All right. Now we're going to proceed. Again, do you have a calculator on the TSI? No. No. So you're going to have to brush out those old skills. So we have -3.5 times 6. 6 times 5 is what? 30. 0. I'm going to regroup my 3. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 3 is 21. You have one decimal place and you have one negative. So what is your answer? C, -21. Okay. May want to brush up on those multiplication charts. May need to do a little around the world competition in here.
What is that?
Oh my gosh, basketball.
All right. All right. So here you go. Here's yours. You really don't need the whole 90 seconds, but I'm going to be kind and do it. But All right, guys, let's go through this really quick. So step one was to solve for your x, right? You should have subtracted 6.
54.
You got 54 equals 6x divided by 6.
Yes.
And you got 9.
Oh, you idiot. Oh.
X equals, don't call him an idiot. So step one. Step two is to substitute in. So now we have 2 times 9 equals 18. All right, yes?
Yes.
All right. So now we're gonna keep going with algebra. We're gonna talk about equation of a line. So remember, equation of a line that we start off with was what, guys? Y equals mx plus b. Do you remember that guy?
Yes.
Okay, m is our what? Slope. B is our y-intercept. Remember those?
Yes.
Okay, your slope equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And your y-intercept is just where does it cross the y-axis, right? So it's 0, comma, your b value. All that sounds familiar, right? Okay, awesome. So here it says that C has coordinates 6, 9. So you're here at 6, 9. And you're at the origin, which is 0, 0. And it wants to know what is the equation of the line. Well, you need to know the slope and your y-intercept. When you're doing y2 minus y1, that's the same thing as saying rise over. Do we remember that? So how much do I rise? I did not rise 6, 9. And then how much did I run? 6. So my slope is 3 over 2. And why is it 3 over 2? We simplify 9 over 6 reduces to 3 over 2 by dividing, right? That's my M. And what is my B? My B is what? 0. Because it's 0, comma, your B. What is 0, comma, 0? All right, so what has a slope of 3/2 and plus 0? D. Okay, remember when you're rising and running, when you rise, that's positive. When you run to the right, that's positive. If you fall, that's what? Negative. And when you run to the left, that is negative, okay? Keeping that in mind, here's yours. The ding heard.
I wasn't here for the
Shh.
Socratic in the first place. And I was on this said if you're absent, come to you for the
Mhm.
Just takes it for it.
All right, so here you have 0, 3, and you have 2, 0. Agreed?
Yes.
All right, so y equals mx plus b. What is your m? Why is it -3/2? It's going down. It is decreasing, right? From left to right, our line is decreasing. So our slope, we rise +3, but we ran to the left, so that makes it a
Negative.
negative. So it's -3/2. And what is our b? +3. 0, comma b is our bam. See why I say you didn't really need the 90 seconds. All right. Next, we're gonna review some quadratic factoring. Okay, so quadratic factoring in reverse. So here they gave us our solutions. Your solutions can become your factors, right? Your solutions are the opposite of your factors. So remember that? Your solutions are the opposite of your factors. So that means that if I have x equals 1, then my factor was x minus 1. If I have x equals -3, then my factor was x plus 3. Do you remember that? Okay, to get their equation, that means you're going to multiply these two things together, right? So I'm going to multiply these two things together. And in order for me to multiply, I have the box method or I have FOIL. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So the box, we'll start off with the most visually appealing one, which is typically the box. So the box, you have x minus 1, x plus 3. Just like the Punnett square in biology, you're going box by box, square by square. X times x is x squared. X times -1 is -1x. X times 3 is 3x. 3 times -1 is -3. Like any other time, you're going to look for common like terms. So my like terms here are there. So my answer would be x squared plus 2x minus 3. And which one says that? B. So this was factoring in reverse. So finding where the factors came from, well, where the solutions came from. How do we feel? All right, your you do for this problem has nothing to do with this. So we're gonna just do it together. I have no clue why they did this as our you do problem. I have no clue, none at all. So I'm not gonna call that person out. They did a great job, just except right here. I don't know what happened. So we're going to just solve this together really quick. Step 1, what do I do to get x by itself? Square, because the opposite of square root is to square. So after I square, I'm left with 5 minus x equals, and 4 squared is 16. Then what do I do?
Minus 5.
Subtract my 5. So minus 5 leaves me with bringing down -x equals 11. Then what do I do?
Oh.
Divide by -1. And a negative divided by a positive makes a -11. So the answer is B. So again, problem 3 and the you do 3 are not related very much, besides the fact that
So these are from a teacher. They're not sent from the district.
no. So well, we're gonna pretend that they are, and we're gonna keep it pushing. All right, here we go. 4. So on 4, we're gonna talk about the intercept of a quadratic. Okay, now, are you allowed to have a calculator? No. So that means we have to do this mathematically. Okay, guys. So mathematically, you have a couple options here. 1, if you remember that y-intercept means that you're looking for when x equals 0. Do you remember that? So if it's asking for your y-intercept, that means x equals 0. So you can substitute in 0 for x. So we have y equals 2 times 0 plus 3 times 0 minus 4. That gives us 2 times 3 times -4. What is 2 times 3? 6. What is 6 times -4? -24. So what is y? -24. Okay, So if I'm looking for the y-intercept, that means I'm looking for when x equals 0. How do we feel?
Amazing.
Yes. So and vice versa, if I was looking for the x-intercept, I would be doing what? When y is 0, right? Okay, so just make sure we're on that. So y-intercept means x equals 0. Can we handle that? All right. Now this one is for real. Here you go. Here's your u. All right, here we go, guys. Ready? So again, what does y-intercept mean we're doing? X equals 0. All right, when I ask you for what is the y-intercept of an equation, that means you're making x equal to 0. So for this one, we have y equals 3 times 0 plus 1 times 0 minus 2, which gives us 3 times 1 times negative 2, which gives us 3 times negative 2, which equals negative 6.
Where'd you get 4 and 2 from?
I don't know.
Add 4 and 2.
All right. Next, we're going to remember, this is way back in January. A difference of 2 squares is what this is a problem example of. So this is called difference of 2 squares, AKA dots. Okay. Difference of 2 squares means that you have 2 perfect squares being subtracted. Literally is what it's saying. Okay. So we have x to the 4 and we have 1. Both of these are perfect squares being what? Subtracted. Okay. So when you're finding the difference of 2 squares, the quickest and kind of shortcut way of doing it is to think about it as taking the square root of each term. So first thing we're going to do is take the square root of each term. What is the square root of x to the 4? X squared, right? What is the square root of 1? 1. The square root of 1 is 1. Okay. So we're going to put our positive. When you take the square root of something, guys, it produces a positive and a negative. So we have x squared plus 1, but we also are going to have x squared minus 1. Okay. What happens with the x squared minus 1 is that it produces another dot situation, another difference of 2 squares. So guess what I'm going to do again? I'm going to repeat the process again until I can't repeat it anymore. So I'm going to take the square root of x squared. What is the square root of x squared? X. The square root of x squared is x. What is the square root of 1? 1x. What is the square root of 1? 1. And when I take the square root of something, I have to have a positive and a negative. So therefore, my factors are We have x squared plus 1. We have x plus 1 and x minus 1. So the answer is A. There are 3 factors to this quartic. Quartic. All right, so your turn, my friends. On the, you do. All right, guys, let's see how we did. So, here we go. We have our 2 perfect squares here, right? And they're being subtracted. So this is a dots problem, difference of 2 squares. So step 1 is going to take the square root. What is the square root of x to the 4? X to the 2nd. What is the square root of 16? 4. When you take the square root of something, you're going to have a positive and a negative. Okay, this one's done, right? Is this one done? No, it can be broken down again because it's another difference of 2 squares. It's a dots problem. So square root of x squared is x. Square root of 4 is 2. I have a positive and I have to have a negative. So my final answer should be x squared plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 2. And that is your difference of 2 squares for a quartic. How do we feel?
Amazing.
Amazing, doable. I know you've slept some since January, so. All right, let's review our exponent rules. Good morning.
I know.
All right, here's our power rule. Huh? All right, guys, stay focused. Power rule. So power rule means that when there's a, guys, when there's a power outside of parentheses, you're going to distribute that power through multiplication. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. What is 3 to the 3rd? 27. So I'm looking for 27, x to the 6, x to the 9. So my answer is D. Do we remember the power rule? Yes. Yeah, we could do that. All right, please do yours. You really don't need the full 90 seconds, but here you go. I don't know what they. Oh, they didn't want them. That's why they went. I've been writing. I don't know. All right, guys. So you should distribute. So you had 2 to the 3rd, x to the 6, y to the 12. 8, x to the 6, y to the 12. There are 20 children in the cast of the class play, and 8 of the children are boys. Of the boys, 4 have a speaking part in the play, and of the girls, 8 do not have a speaking part in the play. If a child from the cast of the play is chosen at random, what is the probability that the child has a speaking part? So we have 20 kids, and they're broken off into 8 boys, and therefore we have 12 girls. Then the boys are broken off into 4 speaking and 4 non-speaking. And the girls are broken off into 8 non-speaking, which therefore means that they have 4 speaking, okay? So it says, if a child from the cast of the play is chosen at random, what is the probability that the child has a speaking part? So we're looking for the kids that all have speaking parts. So we have 4 here and 4 here. So our probability, remember, it's your total out of what you have. So we have 8 out of 20 that have speaking parts, okay? This is not a simplified fraction, so we can reduce them by dividing both by 4. 8 divided by 4 is going to give us 2. 20 divided by 4 gives us 5. So the chance that we will choose a child with a speaking part is 2 out of 5, which is 8. Okay, with word problems, be very careful. Read, break down the information, draw a diagram, draw a figure, do whatever you have to do, but be very careful and take your time. All right, our example problem isn't exactly like this, so we're going to still work it together. So it says here, using a 6-sided die, Carlin has rolled a 6 on each 4 successive tosses. What is the probability of rolling a 6 on the next toss? Okay. So, if he wants to roll another 6 on this one, he's already done 4 successive tosses, and he's gotten 6 out of 6. So on his first toss, so toss 1, that was 1 out of 6. Toss 2, because there's only 1 6 on a dice, right? 1 out of 6. Toss 3, that was 1 out of 6. Toss 4, that was 1 out of 6. And now he wants to roll the dice again. What is the probability of Carlin rolling a 6 on the next toss? What would be the probability? It would be 1 out of 6. Why? Because it's a fair-sided dice, okay? It didn't say what was the chance of him rolling 1 out of 6, because it's a fair-sided dice, and each one is independent of each other. So what's his chance? It would be 1 out of 6. Okay, and that's it. That's all. That's probability. Okay, that concludes day 1 of TSI Prep.